everybody, welcome back to Crochet by Landry. In this video, we are going to make a little amigurumi cactus. So grab your pattern off of Yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link down below and let's get started. Okay, everybody, let's get started making our cactus friends. So what you're going to need is you're going to need the pattern. So you're going to go onto Yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link in the description box down below if you want to go and get it and follow along with me. You can get the yarn. I bought this off of Amazon. It wasn't very expensive. I'll also put that link in the description down below. I'm going to use a 2.5 millimeter hook, some scissors, a yarn needle, and a stitch marker maybe to keep track of my rows. Other than that, let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with our pattern. So I'm just going to take the label off, put that aside, and I'm going to find my end so I can get started. So on your pattern, you have 4 colors on your wheel here. Color A is your light green, color B is your dark green, C is black, and D is pink. So we're going to make the boy cactus. So we're going to need the dark green to start off with. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot to get yourself started. And then you're going to want to chain 22 of a foundation chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to keep going here. Chain 22 and I will catch up with you. Finish my chain of 22. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do single crochets all the way across our chain. So we're going to start with the second chain from the hook, which is this one right here. And we're just going to single crochet into it. And then you're going to do the same thing in every chain all the way across, leaving you with 21 single crochets. Just take your time. We're working with a small hook here, so you just need to take your time, no rush. We're building a friend. So finish off your single crochets. Once you've got 21, I will meet up. So here we go with row 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, turn our work. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working in the back loops only. And I'll show you with my needle here. So what we're going to do is the loop that's farthest away from you is your back loop. So the farthest away from you is your back loop. The one closest to you is your front one. So we're just going to be working in the back loops only for the remainder of this project. So what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet in the back loop of the first one. So that's 1. Then we're going to do the same thing for the next 6 stitches. So that's 2. And you should have 7. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Don't worry about your work curling up on you. It'll straighten out as we go along. So that's 7 single crochets. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do 7 half double crochets. So remember, yarn over, go in through the back loop, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3. And then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, and then do that 6 more times. Yarn over, in through the loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do 6 double crochets. So again, yarn over, in through the back loop, pull up a loop, so you have 3. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Let's do that 5 more times. So yarn over, so pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, 3, oops, 4, 5, and 6. And then just single crochet in that last one. And that is the end of row 2. All right, so row 3. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work. Now the chain 3 does not count as a stitch. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna single crochet in the base of that single crochet from our previous row. Just like that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do in reverse 6 double crochets in the back loops only. So remember to always go in the back loop every single row until we're done the body. That's 1, oops, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, if I can get, I'll try not to do that. 5, and then 1 more, and 6. And just pull yourself a little bit more yarn, so you have a little bit of less tension. Now what you're going to do is you're going to do the 7 half double crochets. So yarn over, pull up a loop, going into that back loop, and all through 3. And you're going to do that 7 times. That's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, and 6, 1 more, and 7. Okay, and then you're going to do your 7 single crochets in the remaining stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There you go. That is the 3rd row done. So now what you're going to do is you're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3 for 7 more times, going from rows 4 to 17. Once you get from rows 4 to 17 done, I will meet up with you. Okay, everybody, have you done 17 rows? If you did, it should look something like this. Now we're going to do row 18. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just like we've been doing. Chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to do 7 single crochets in the back loop only. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, try not to split your yarn, 5, and 6, and 7. Then you're going to do 7 half double crochets, and again in the back loops only. That's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now we're going to do our 6 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 more, 6, and then 1 single crochet in the last one, and that is 18 rows for our cactus friend. Now let's move on to gathering the top of the head. Now let's work on gathering the top of the head. So what we're going to do is you're not going to turn, you're going to be working in the top half of your project here, so on the tops of your rows. So what you're going to do is you are going, without chaining, you're going to single crochet 2 together. So you're going to just stick your hook at the top of the row anywhere. That's 1 and 2, and you're going to have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're just going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. That's 1. We're going to do this 8 more times. So again, stick your hook in the top of the row, pull up a loop, stick your hook in the top of the next row, pull up a loop until you have 3 on your hook, yarn over, and pull it together. So then next one, 1 and 2. That's the next one. And you're just going to do this all the way around, all the way down until you have 9. You've got 9 stitches. Okay. Oh wait, I missed one. Try not to miss one, because if you miss one, then you have to back it up and start over. Okay. Just go slow. This is what we call decreasing. Starting to take shape. There we go. And now if you wanted to, you could count your stitches. So your stitches are going to be along the top edge here. So you could count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Perfect. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's fasten off, which is just a chain 1. Now what you need to do is leave a tail long enough to sew your project together. So probably about that. Let's see, it'll be okay. Okay. Put that off to the side. And then you're going to do is you're going to pull your long tail through. Pull it all the way through. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to gather the top top 9 stitches and sew the top of our head together. So feed your yarn through your needle. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sew this together. Now what I usually do is I'm going to kind of create a little drawstring here. So I'm just going to grab the stitches here, grab one side, and just pull it through. Just like that. Just grab one piece of the stitch and pull my yarn all the way through. Because eventually what's going to happen is the top of your head is going to be able to pull it so you can sew it properly. You can see what happens if you pull. It's going to get smaller. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew the side and the bottom together after we're done stuffing our cactus friend. Once we've got the top of the head sewn together. So you're going to just pull it, and then you're going to start by sewing. Now that you've got it at the end, what you're going to do is put it through that last couple stitches that you have on your end. There we go. Okay. And now what you can do is if you wanted to, you could go back and forth from one corner over and sew that top of that head closed completely so you don't have a hole in the top. I like to do that with all of my amigurumis to make sure that there's no holes, no space. Okay, I think one more should do it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew the back of him closed. So making sure that your yarn is through the back side of him. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna slowly work your way down the spine here, going through one side, coming out the other. And you're just gonna sew it all the way down. Once you reach the end, I will show you what to do next. Okay, once you've sewn his top of his head and the back closed, you should have something that looks like this. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna stuff the body and then sew his back bottom here closed. So let me grab me some stuffing. So what you wanna use, you just wanna use, I'm using polyfill. You could use scrap yarn if that's all you have. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stuff this as best I can. I'm gonna try and stuff it all the way down to the bottom. And if you need like a pencil or the back of your crochet hook to get it in the hole if your hands are not fitting. So just like that. Take a little bit more and we should be okay. Okay, let's look at that and see what we think. That's pretty good. All right. Okay, so now let's sew the end shut. Again, grab your needle if you haven't. And then you're just gonna sew his bottom closed. Just like you did for the long side, you're gonna do the same on the bottom. Because then we'll eventually attach shoes and his pants and his arms as well. And we'll put a face on it and then he will be all done. Let's finish up sewing the body. Now if you wanted to go back and forth a few times to make sure that you have no holes, no spaces, that's probably a good idea. I like to do that sometimes just to make sure. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to hide the tail. I like to go in the project and come out wherever. And then I'm going to cut the tail as close to the project as I can without cutting the project. There we go. We have the beginning of our cactus friend. Now let's move on to making his face. So let's give our little friend here a face. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some black embroidery floss. And you're just going to go in from anywhere. I like to go in through the back and come out the front. And I try to aim as best as I can to the middle of where his face should be. So about there looks okay. You're going to pull it through until there's a little tail sticking out. You can push that in later. And then you're going to do what's called a French knot. So I like to put my needle like this, and then I wrap my yarn around maybe 3 times. And then I pull it through. And that is one little eyeball. Then you're just going to go in through another stitch just adjacent, and then you're going to come out across to do the other eye. Trying not to pull your other eye through, because you don't want to do that. And then you're just going to do the same thing. So leave your needle sticking out and just wrap your yarn around. Okay, till there's like 3 wraps around your hook or your needle, and then pull. And it should give you a little knot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make his smile. He's a happy cactus. Okay. Then what we're going to do is go in and out. Let's see. That. So you're just going to go across from where your smile, where you want your smile to end, and then come out the same place you came out of from the eye. Just like that. And do it maybe twice so you've got a definition of where his face is. There we go. And then what you want to do is you want to come out where your first tail is sticking out. Now do your best to come out of the same space. There we go. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to tie those two ends in a double knot. Okay. Give them a trim. And then you can probably just use the back end of your needle to push the tails in to your project so they're not seen. You could probably use your hook as well, just gently pushing them in. You could probably even use a pencil as well, just something blunt to push the needle, push the tails in. There you go, and he's happy. Now let's move on to making him some arms. All right, let's get making our cactus is his arms. So you're gonna make a slip knot to start off, and then you're also gonna chain 10. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then in the second chain from the hook, you're going to put a single crochet, and you're going to do that all the way across until you have 9 single crochets. Once you've reached the end, I will meet up with you. All right, did you finish row 1? If you did, let's move on to row 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to do this after every single row for 9 rows total. So working in the back loops like you did with the body, you're just going to single crochet in each stitch all the way across. And you're going to do that from rows 2 to row 9. That way we can finish sewing our arms on our cactus. So like I said, rows 2 to row 9, you're just going to single crochet in the back loops only, which is the loop that is farthest away from you. So that's row 2. So it should give you this little ridge effect. Once you've done rows 2 and rows all the way to row 9, I will meet up with you. All right, once you've gotten to row 9, this is what it should look like. Little square. Then you can fasten off by chaining 1 and then leave a tail to sew it closed. And then just put it to the side because you're going to have to make 2. So put 1 to the side. Let's put 1 together to make an arm. Okay, so just like you did for the body to sew the top of the head closed, you're going to do the same thing for your arm. So you're just going to weave your needle in and out of the rows. Just weave it in and out of each row at the top edge of your project. So you're going to kind of create like a little curtain effect, and you're just going to pull that tail all the way through until your ends start to come close to each other. And then just sew the top half closed as best as you can. I know it's small, so take your time. And you're just going to sew it shut. So the stuffing doesn't come out of it. And now what you're going to do is the same thing you did for the body, is you're going to sew the long side closed. Again, just going in through each stitch as best as you can, not to leave too many gaps. So down the side, one stitch at a time. And you're going to do this twice for both arms. Just like that. Oops, try not to pick up your scissors. There. And you're going to do that for the second one as well. And then once you're done that, you can stuff your arms, and then we can sew them on to our body of our project. So let's do the first one, and then you guys can do the second one together. So what you want to do now, if you want to create a little bend in your arm, you could just stitch it in position. But I'm going to grab a little bit of stuffing and stuff my arm now. Now this is where you're going to need maybe a pencil or your back of your crochet hook to get the stuffing in the bottom into the hole, because it is very, very tiny. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to stuff his arm, and you're going to do the same thing with both arms. There we go. Okay, and now to sew the arm on, you're gonna just do your best, just maybe below his smile, and then you're just gonna stitch it on. So going in your project, into the body and out of the arm. Okay, and then into the body, and then come out through the arm as best as you can. And you're going to go all the way around the arm, leaving no holes. Again, doing your best. He'll look cute no matter what he looks like. Just going to do that, and then you're going to do the same thing for the other arm. Because in that way he's got two arms, and then we can make his feet. Now, if you want to create the little bend in his arm, you could just go through your project and come out the center of his arm, facing his body as best as you can, as close to the middle as you can get. And what you want to do is you just want to kind of maybe come outside, go in through the crease, and come out the bottom. And that's going to pull his arm inward, give a little bit of a cactus effect to it. Okay, and then just going to, again, hide the tail. So going in one side of the project, coming out of the other, and then trimming your end. Okay. There we go. And that's one arm. So do the other one, and I will meet back with you. Okay, let's get to making his legs. So you're going to need your black yarn out of your roll of yarn that you got. You're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to chain 13 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, just like that. And then what you're going to do is second chain from the hook, you're going to make a single crochet. And then you're just going to single crochet all the way down to the end, and you'll be left with 12 single crochets. Once you've reached the end, I will see you there. All right, once you've reached the end of your first row, you should have something that looks like this. So now what we're going to do is we are going to chain 1, and you're going to do a single crochet in the first 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to do a single crochet 2 together stitch. So you're going to go in to the next stitch, pull up a loop, don't yarn over, then you're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a third loop. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. We're going to do that 2 more times. So go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next one after that, pull up a loop, then pull through all 3 loops. And do it one more time, like this, like that, and pull through. And then single crochet in the remaining 3 stitches. That is the end of round 2. Let's move on to round 3. Chain 1 and turn. You're going to single crochet in the first 3 stitches. So 1 and 2 and 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet 3 together stitch. So it's 1, 2, and 3. So now you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops, and then you're going to single crochet in the remaining 3 stitches. There we go. You should have something that looks like this. It's just starting to take your form of your leg for your cactus. Now from rows 4 to 7, you're just going to chain 1 and turn and single crochet across each stitch for the next 3 rows, from rows 4 to row 7. Once you've finished row 7, I will meet up with you. You should have something that looks like this. Okay, so what you want to do is once you hit row 7, you're going to fasten off by chaining 1, leaving a tail for sewing. Pull that tail through. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to take your piece and fold it in half. That way it starts to take form of a little boot. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sew your piece together. So you're going to grab your needle, thread your yarn, and you're just going to sew the length, the back of the boot and the bottom of the boot closed, leaving the top open so you can stuff him or stuff his boot, just like we've been doing. Just going to go down the side, sewing it closed. Now you can work over your starting tail if you wish. That way you don't have to worry about weaving it in. That's what I'm going to do. Save a little time. Once you've gotten to the tip of your boot, you can stuff your boot. You should have a little hole on the top of your boot right there. Okay, so that's where we're going to stick our stuffing. And this is where a pencil or the back of your crochet hook will come in handy. You're not going to need a lot of stuffing, just a little bit. I'm going to use the back of my back end of my pencil here just to help get the stuffing into his boot. You want to do your best to get it in, and you're going to want to make 2 of these because he's going to need 2 feet just like he needs 2 arms. Stuff it well. Don't stuff it too much, because if you stuff it too much, then your stuffing's going to pop out of the seams. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave my tail back in through my project and come out the top, so that way I can sew it on to my project after. So what we're going to do right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to sew your boot on, one there and one there. Okay, we'll sew the first one on together, and then I will turn you loose so you can sew the second one on. So what you're going to do is you're just going to position your boot as best you can. Put your needle in through your project, getting the boot on as best as you can. You're going to have to be crafty in holding it in. Okay, and then you're just going to sew it on as best as you can. Picking up some of the stitches from the cactus and picking up some of the stitches from the boot. So you keep going on that. Once you're done sewing his boots on, we'll move on to his clothes. Okay, let's get started making his overalls. So you're going to need your light green yarn. What you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to chain 11 to start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, just like that. Then you're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and you're just going to go all the way across, and you should have 10 stitches remaining. Once you've done that, we can move on to row 2. All right, let's move on to row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and you're just going to put 1 single crochet, in each stitch. So again, you should have 10 single crochets remaining. Okay, that's row 2, that's finished. So now what you're going to do is go from rows 3 to 10, doing the same thing. Chain 1, turn, go across. Chain 1, turn, go across. Once you've got to row 10, I will meet back with you. Okay, if you've finished rows 2 to 10, this is what you should have something that should look like. Now we're going to work on row 11, which is the crotch of our little guy's overalls. So you're going to chain 1, turn your work. You're only going to single crochet in the first 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now what you're going to do for row 12 is you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn. Then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet in the second chain of that chain 4, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches after that. 1 and 2. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to single crochet in the next 7 after that. So 1, 2, 3, 7. There's the beginning of our little guy's overalls. Let's move on to rows 13 to 30. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 again and turn. And then we're just going to go from rows 13 to 30, single crocheting in each stitch across. Once you get to row 30, I will meet up with you. Okay, so let's move on to row 31. So we're going to repeat row 11, so which means you're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches. 7. Then you're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And do the next 3 chains. And then just single crochet straight across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because that'll create the second crotch. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it over, and it should be mirror image from each other. Now what we're going to do from rows 32 to 40 is just chain 1 and single crochet across from rows 32 to 40. So once you've gotten to row 40, I will meet back with you. Okay, so if you finished rows 32 to 40, you should have something that looks like this. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to work on the waistband on the top half of our piece here. But first we're going to fasten off with this so it's not in our way. And we're going to leave a tail for sewing. So leave a long enough tail so you have enough. Okay, and now we're going to work in our black for our waistband. What we're going to do is we're going to do a slip knot. And we're just going to single crochet along the top edge of our row. So I'm just going to join it in a corner with a slip stitch as best as I can. So let's just join it. Actually, let's join it with a single crochet. One less stitch we have to do. I'm going to work over my short tail here. You can do the same, or you can weave it in later. Now just evenly space your single crochets across the top edge of your piece. Do your best. Try to evenly space them out. And you're just going to go straight across, single crocheting into each row as best as you can. And once you've reached the end, we will go on to the next step. So this is what it should look like, something like this. Now what you're going to do is for rows 2 and 3, you are going to do the same thing. Just chain 1, turn your work, and just go back and forth, creating a waistband for our overalls. And once you've gotten your rows 2 and 3 finished, I will meet up with you and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so this is what 3 rows of the black should look like. Now we're going to fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. Probably about that. That's good. So these are your 2 tails for sewing your overalls together. Now to sew your overalls, you're going to fold them in half so the crotch part is matching up, and you're going to sew starting with the green, trying not to fray your ends because that's the most annoying part about doing this. There we go. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is try not to get your black in the way. We'll deal with that in a second. So you're going to start by sewing the long sides together. So just like we've been doing, go from one side of your project to the other and pull your tail. You want to make sure it's snug, but not too snug. You don't want to pull too hard and have your yarn break, because then you have to reattach and okay. And try not to pull your yarn out of your needle. Causes more problems than it's worth. Okay, then we're just gonna keep going. Like this, all the way down till you reach the black. Okay. Okay. There you go. There's the green part sewn. So we can just leave that tail for, actually, let's go and sew the crotch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave this tail in through the bottom, back out to where I started. And then I'm going to work my way over to the center where the crotch, one of the crotch corners. And I'm just going to sew one of those ends, sew those closed while I've got my green yarn in hand. So again, just going from one side of your project to the other, sewing that hole closed in the center. Okay, there we go. Now that is the end of the green. So what you're going to do is you're just going to, what we've been doing is hiding your tail in your project somewhere. There we go. And then trim your end and pull the green yarn out, put it off to the side. Now we're going to sew the black side closed. And again with the same thing, from one side to the other, just sewing the hole closed. Go. Perfect. And again, leave your end in so it's not seen. And there are his little overalls. Now let's work on the straps. Okay, let's make the straps for his overalls. So we're gonna again start with the light green. You're gonna make a slip knot and you're gonna chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And in the second chain from the hook, you're going to just single crochet all the way across. You will have a little strap for his overalls. You should have 14 stitches once you get to the end. There you go. Something that looks like this. Now what you want to do is fasten off. Leave a bit of a tail so you can sew it onto your overalls. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to sew it onto your overalls. Now you can use both tails. So you start on the back and you're just going to place it along the black side like this. And you're just going to pick up some stitches from the overalls and stitches from the straps, trying not to lose your yarn at the same time. You're just going to stitch it on as best as you can. Just like that. Okay, and then once that's done, you can hide the tail. Hide one of your tails in the strap itself, and then trim. And then take your other tail, try to bring it up through if you can, because you're going to want a tail at one end and a tail at the other end to sew both ends on. Okay, and then you're just going to sew the other end on the other side. And once you've got it sewn on, do another French knot like I have right here for the button. And then once you have that done, we will be all set. And that's it for today, everybody. We made a little amigurumi friend. So don't forget to subscribe down below, hit the like and the notification bell for more content, and I'll see you next week.